What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this MMA 15 fight slate on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future MMA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GBP, head over to www.dgfantasy.com. On dgfantasy.com, we give you cheat sheets for every major sport, along with ownership projections, actual projections, and strategy for every single slate. We also cover optimal cash plays as well as preferred GBP plays and stacks for specific contest sizes. We do the dirty work for you. We are also currently partnered with Fantasy Cruncher, the best optimizer in the industry. When signing up for our $30 package, you also get a $20 credit to use towards any Fantasy Cruncher product. We provide the best value in the industry. And now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA 15 fight slate here with Kevin as always. And Kevin's going to give us a recap here on the 9 fight slate, complete opposite. The nine fight slate that we had that seems like forever ago at this point. You ready to do this?
Yeah, 100%,
right.
Matt. So UFC Fight Night, Brunson versus Till was good for us. Third week in a row with a takedown, Matt. So we've actually been really hot in MMA lately.
Yeah, but this wasn't just a takedown. This was the takedown with
yeah,
Joey.
This was the takedown, correct. Joey, longtime member, Patreon, took down the 100K contest. Did tie a bunch. It was all chalk. So, I mean, it was a 9-fight slate, so that'll happen. Chalk hit hard as well, but still made a good chunk of change there, enough to buy a car, we'll put it that way.
Can't complain about 4,500 plus, so.
Yeah, exactly. So, going through the fights, we said Barriot was live, and he did well in a decision. Arroyo was our #1 punt, Matt, and as always, he did what he always does and just wins his punt money, which is crazy that he's faded so much. Everyone sleeps on him every time. I don't get it, but Jack Shore, I said, was great for cash, and he won a medium scoring but solid decision. I said McCann was live. Didn't want her opponent, but McCann was very well paced there. What did McCann score, Molly McCann?
Yep, she scored 92.81, which is about what we expected.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, she had almost 136 strikes, 2 takedowns, so good. I said Patty and Vendramini was live, though we did like Vendramini a little more because of the massive leverage. I think, everyone was so high on Patty with the ownership too. It just made so much sense, and we saw Patty almost got slept in the first, 20 seconds. But, we did say Patty was live too, and Patty came back, got a big finish in the first round. Roundtree was a love lister, and he did well with a second round KO. I didn't touch Morono. I said he was live, but I didn't think he would score that great, and he didn't score that great, so that was great for us. Aspinall was a love lister, and he did what he always does with another first round KO. Guys just lights out in DFS right now. We love Brunson as the underdog. We said to target him as we saw it was a 50-50 fight, similar to the Dillashaw-Sandhagen fight, except one fighter is significantly cheaper, and Brunson absolutely smoked. Everything went as planned, Matt, even from, Molly McCann with our high-paced decision, Arroyo with the, the big underdog win, Brunson smoking the main event as the underdog. I think we absolutely crushed this one, Matt. I think we were like lights out.
Yeah, from a huge GPP perspective, this wasn't the slate to play, obviously, because the chalk hit pretty hard, and it's annoying when the chalk underdogs win and the chalk favorites win, where it's obviously inflated ownership, and that's exactly what happened here with Patty and then Brunson, the chalk underdog. So it's gonna happen, and if you played cash, you probably cashed in absolutely everything, and if you played your cash lineup in the big GPP, you probably did very well as well. So moving on to this next slate, I'm assuming, because you already told me you have a crazy amount of pump plays, this is going to be a GBP slate.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee a takedown will not have as many ties as last slate.
It won't. It probably won't have one, honestly.
Yeah, it might not have one. Yeah, seriously, especially with how this is and the pricing. Yeah, it's a weird one. So yeah, let's get right into it. So Emily Whitmire versus Hannah Goldie. I think you can safely fade Whitmore here with how big the slate is. Whitmire she's volatile, has been submitted in all 4 of her losses, including her last 2 fights. There's also, like I said, a huge slate, so she's a favorite at 8,500 with a plus 200 finish chance, Matt. Don't love that. Goldie is a late replacement, but still, knowing Whitmire's track record, I think you got to red light her. Just because, I don't know, Goldie is just, I'm saying you got to red light Whitmire still, even though Goldie's a late replacement, just to clarify.
Yep.
Because, Goldie's she's a big guy. I mean that with the utmost respect, Matt. She's a big dude. She's jacked up, strong. Has a lot of muscle, big power. We saw that in her fight against Belbita. But that muscle comes at a cost as she gasses a little bit.
Right.
That paired with the fact that Hannah Goldie has never submitted anyone in her pro career. And we just talked about how Whitmire, the easiest way to beat her is through grappling and submitting her, as she's been submitted in all 4 of her losses. I'm probably going to red light Hannah Goldie as well.
Yeah,
The
I'm
way
way
to
ahead
beat
of you.
Whitmire, just said is on the ground. You already red lighted
Oh
both
yeah,
of them?
I heard that I heard your spiel there at the beginning. There's no shot.
Yeah.
A plus 200
Yeah.
finish chance on a 14 fight slate. This has little to no probability other than the price tags, I would say, Kevin, to make the optimal here.
Yeah, the only thing interesting is the price tags, Matt. And as there's a lot of, we talked about this a little bit, there's a lot of good pay up and pay down options here.
Right.
So I am hammering the punts and heavy favorites here. So maybe one of these middle range guys makes it in. So, or
Right.
girls.
Now, if there's any hope whatsoever that you like this fight at all, Kevin, like at all, the slimmer chance that you think this makes the optimal, please tell me now, because the ownership is a combined 10.8% on this fight.
What?
They have 5.1% on Whitmore, and on Goldie 5.7%. So if you can sway, if the ownership changes a little bit Saturday morning and it gets even lower, if you can sway us in any direction. And I'm not telling you to. I'm just saying, if you have any hope for these 2 fighters finishing,
I have to now. That's the lowest combined ownership
I've
I've ever heard.
ever seen. Whitmore's 5.1, Goldie 5.7. So again, like
Damn.
if
Dude,
this
10% is low, like for one fighter.
all right, here, let me do my research here. Whitmore 90. She did score 97 against. Now you have to think on a 14 fight slate. Will that make the op? Goldie scored 59 in her win, and then 25.3 in her loss. Yeah, I mean, I'm still not confident about it, but that ownership is very, very sexy. Do you want to move them up to yellow?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate that, but that's the craziest ownership I've ever heard in my entire life.
And by the way,
That's freaking crazy.
I need to go over the benchmark real quick before we move on. Benchmark percent for you guys who are watching for the very first time. I give the top 6, and anything above that is usually cash consideration. Anything below 33.1% on this card, which is actually pretty high still. There's going to be a lot of low-owned fighters on this card. Anything below that 33.1% mark is considered a GPP option, and we'll refer back to that benchmark percentage here throughout the entire video. Moving on to the next fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, we have Gustavo Lopez versus Haile Alateng. I'm going to mark the favorite here in Alateng yellow, Matt. I really don't love him, but he does bring an X factor to his mid-range pricing, and that is his takedown ability. There's a couple guys on the slate like this. He grew up wrestling in China, showed in his performance against Ryan Benoit and Dana Betgarel. He's not a great finisher. His pace is bad, but could easily blow up the slate with some takedowns, especially being at 8,400, so I cannot fully fade him. Lopez will be green in this one. I do think he has a shot to win and is a much better finisher. He has heavy hands and also some good grappling, and may create problems for Alateng with his wrestling. So
I see that hit or miss here with Lopez so far.
100%. And, he has a chance. So I don't love this fight as a whole, but there's definitely better ones on the card. But we talked about the pricing, and this is still that mid-range pricing, and there's not a lot of great mid-range pricing fights. So maybe this is the one you want to target.
This is one of those situations where Fantasy Cruncher has not updated the ownership on Alateng. I'm assuming his ownership will be very similar to Lopez, given that he's a slight favorite. But regardless, Lopez only 14%. So here's a great GPP play off the rip here, Kevin. Again, that benchmark is sitting at 33%. So 14%, and Alateng, I can only assume it's going to be about 14 to 20%.
Love that.
Yep. Very good leverage potential off the rip here.
Moving on, we got Impa Cassanganay versus Carlston Harris. This will start one of the love listers, Matt. So Impa's a good finisher, and aside from getting highlight reeled to fucking Jupiter last year by walking Buckley, as you remember, he has been pretty solid inside the octagon. I'll mark him green, but a couple noticeable issues I will explain. One issue is that he had a pretty close fight even in his 2 wins. Another issue is that he's not a prolific finisher, Matt. We know that about Impa. He's just not the best finisher in the world on a slate this big. Hence why he's a $8,900 fighter, and we're looking at an even line here. Also, another issue is we're looking at this line, Matt. There's some weird line to price ratios on this one. He's a -120. When I see -120, what do you think of?
I'm thinking 8K.
8K. I was going to say 8,200 or 8K.
8.2, yeah.
Yeah, usually it's 8.2. We've seen it 8. I think we've seen a 7,900 as the favorite at -120 before. He's 8.9K. So it's kind of absurd, especially for a guy who doesn't have the best pace and isn't a prolific finisher, as I said. But that means you guessed it right, Matt. Carlston Harris will be a love lister. Not my favorite punt of all time, but he showed promise for sure in his UFC debut against Christian Aguilera, where he had a nice anaconda choke hit, and has some notable wins outside the UFC as well against other UFC fighters who are currently in the division, like Wellington Turman and stuff like that. So I think he makes a solid argument for a punt. We'll include him in that column, and I'm gonna put Impa green, but off the love list.
Okay, green but off the love list, and you're gonna want a lot more exposure to Impa here after here. Obviously, I mean we've done this before. This is not our first rodeo here, Kevin. Near even line, the price tags make no sense, so you can already assume Carlson Harris. Harris is going to be mega chalk or close to it. 33.1%. Everybody agrees with you here. This is going to be the punt. This is going to be your cash filler for a punt option, which means inflation is going to be crazy. 33.1%. He is the benchmark percent here. Impa, the exact opposite. Literally, Kevin, a third of the ownership, 10.3%. Nobody's paying up $8,900 for that minus 121 line. So guess what, guys? There's my stance. I love the ownership here on Impa. I'm going to be overexposed, if not, possibly could go close to 100% here if he wins. I mean, I'm sitting on a close to an island here. If he's in the optimal 10.3%, are you kidding me? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I did not think Impa would be that low.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right?
It makes sense. But still didn't think it'd be that low.
No, yeah, I mean, the girls are 5%.
About...
He's sitting right there at 10. So
wild. That's absolutely wild.
Well, here, I think that's a great leverage opportunity. Moving on,
we have Erin Blanchfield versus Sarah Alpar. Blanchfield makes her somewhat long-awaited UFC debut match. She's a good grappler. Is coming over from Invicta, as we know many female fighters do these days. She does have notable wins over like Kay Hansen, Victoria Leonardo, who are currently on the UFC roster. Her only loss is to Tracy Cortez, who is currently 3-0 in the UFC. So, pretty good career outside of the UFC for Blanchfield. Sarah Alpar got fucking demolished in her UFC debut match. She had 2 takedowns, but aside from that, she got outstruck by about 100 and finished in the third, so she did not have a good debut. I don't have a ton of interest in Sarah as the underdog. Here's the thing, Matt. I don't love women's fights on large cards. We know this. They don't score as well. I don't like expensive women fighters as they don't score well. And I certainly don't like pay-up options I don't like pay-up options who are making their UFC debut as much as she has some hype behind her.
Trust me, I know. You said that a million times now.
A million times. I mean, it's just a different type of just historically speaking, you see these people come in that highly coveted, amazing fighters outside the UFC. They come in, the bright lights hit, and they're just not the same person.
Under those lights.
And it's not, I think it's part the talent level. I think it's a big part of it, but it's also, like I said, it's just a different experience. People forget there's a mental aspect to this. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks just because they're professional athletes that they're just, oh no, they're going to be themselves. Like, no, like they're humans. Like this shit happens. Right. People get caught under those bright lights and they just black out. I literally said that was going to happen with Amanda Nunes and who was it fought? I can't remember. I said her opponent was going to just black out, and she did. She literally looked like she was starstruck in there. But anyway, Blanchfield's talented. I'm going to put her yellow, but I can't give her anything more than a hard yellow at that pricing on this card.
Yeah. Just to speak off your point here, the NBA players say they have that same effect whenever they get into the NBA and they play with LeBron James. So any rookie that plays with LeBron James is set up to suck because they're just starstruck instantly when they get on the team. They're just like, I can never be this good. So, so I'm just going to immediately suck. All right.
Exactly.
Aaron is sitting at 30%, Kevin, at 9.4K. I get that's not, I get that's not in that cash category, but it's still relatively high. And Sarah, again, just relative speaking to Aaron's price or to her ownership, 3.8. Now I get it. Neither one of these girls are supposed to make the optimal, but if you're actually that much of a believer in Aaron and Sarah upsets, I mean that's a huge discrepancy in terms of the ownership alone. 3.8 to 30%. So yeah, I do think there's leverage opportunity here. As you said, these two probably shouldn't make the optimal, but I still would have some exposure, especially at that 3.8% Sarah. I mean that to me is well, it's the lowest on the card.
So much leverage. I mean, if you're going to do 150 lineups and you want to separate yourself, sure.
Yeah. I mean, again, 3.8%, you're looking in the milli maker. You're already making, probably 10 times your money, 5 to 10 times your money.
True.
Anyway.
I don't hate that. Moving on, we have Montel Jackson versus JP Buys.
Sorry, not to cut you off. Yellow, yes, or complete red?
I'll leave that. This is between you and God, Matt. I'll leave that for you.
I'm gonna put Aaron red because I think 30% is high, and I'll leave Sarah.
Okay.
I think that's pretty fair.
Yellow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was close to that. I think I had Aaron yellow and Sarah red, but I get your reasoning.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, the only reason I'm putting Blanchfield yellow is I believe in the talent from what I've seen. But if you want to not do that, I don't care. I'm not in love with this fight at all.
I'm not going to get away from this.
Plus 130. That's what's kind of pushing me too. It's not that bad.
You know what? I'm leaving them both yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Makes sense. Moving on, we got Montel Jackson versus JP Buys. Montel Jackson, Matt, as the favorite here makes sense to me. He's a minus 650, 9,500. That's a very heavy line. But he's 4-2 in the UFC, facing JP Buys, who just got buried in his UFC debut. He was knocked down 3 times and finished in the second, which is just ugly. Getting knocked down 3 times.
Holy cow. Okay, I
yeah.
see the scoring right now.
For against JP Buys.
I see. I was looking at Jackson, and now I'm looking at Buys. But yeah.
Both will be green here though, Matt. Without Loveless. Long story short, so I like Jackson as the favorite, and to be honest, he may be the only person on this card who could feasibly make the optimal on a 15-fight card at 9.5K.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, even in a decision. And how might you ask? Well, good old-fashioned wrestling. He can crack too, but my goodness, man. We saw that in his knockout in March over Jesse Strader. Very impressive, but not nearly as impressive as when he fought Felipe Colares, Matt. He landed 11 takedown. 11. If my math is correct, in that fight, he scored over 130 points without even counting control time. So, do you see that fight with Colares? Is it on there?
Yep.
What did he score?
Minus 148.
He scored minus 148.
Sorry, not minus 148. I'm
That's not
taking
very good.
odds. I've got used to talking to you about odds.
I know.
Yeah,
he scored 148.
He went negative. 148
is
what he scored.
That's fucking bananas. That's so good. That is a ceiling, my friend. So he did get lit up in the wrestling department by Brett Johns, which is weird. Always weird to me when I see like these good wrestlers who land 11 takedowns. I think even when he fought Brett Johns, he got taken down like 8 times. It's like, bro, how are you this glass cannon of a wrestler? Like, you're so good offensively, but bad defensively. I don't know. As a wrestling coach, I promise we practice about the offense and defense nearly the same. But I'll tell you this, JP is a good counter. He has a pretty extensive wrestling background himself, good jiu-jitsu. And we saw Jackson struggle against Johns on the defensive side of his wrestling, and grappling. So I think there's some hope here with a minus 200 finish chance for JP Buys as well.
Especially this ownership. This is disgusting.
What is it?
So Montel Jackson, I just looking at his score, we've talked about this before, Kevin. Like, what is the floor you have to make the optimal? And I think that floor score for a 14-person card is probably going to be about 90 to 95 points. Do you agree with that? 90 to 95 points.
One more time?
I'm sorry, the
floor?
Yeah, there's going to be about 90 to 95 points for the optimal winners here.
Yep.
And I see Montel Jackson scoring that in every single one of his fights that he wins. So I think he has to be green. That being said, Kevin, he's the highest owned on the card. 52.3%. Yep. And again, it's just because the casuals are playing that high price tag. Like, you're not paying down to the woman fighter that we just talked about in Aaron.
Yep.
You're paying up for Montel Jackson, especially if you're box score watching. And then
you look, there's a $100 price discrepancy, Matt, and there's almost a 2 times Vegas line favoritisms here. So just between Blanchfield and Jackson.
Yeah. And I do think the ownership's going to go even more down on Aaron. With Montel Jackson.
They're going to go down on Aaron?
Huh? Okay.
They're going to go down on Aaron?
I wish.
Good for her.
JP Buys, 4.1. Okay, let that sink in. 4.1, and Montel Jackson was 52.3. They're giving JP Buys a 13% chance, Kevin. Don't know if you agree with that, to win this thing. 13% chance.
Stylistically, I think it makes sense. So
if you do believe, Kevin, talking to you individually, that JP Buys has a 13% chance to win, and the ownership's 4.1%. You already know what I'm going to say. You already know exactly what I'm going to say here. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up here. 52.1% or 52.3% on Montel Jackson. There's your leverage. If you go 100% in the Millie Maker for JP Buys and he pulls the upside, guess what? You're taking this thing down. You're taking that thing down. If you're running 150 different lineups and you're exposing yourself 150 times to JP Buys, boom. There's your place to get different. And again, 13% chance. That's what Vegas is giving him.
I don't hate it. I think he's got the skill set to cause problems for Montel Jackson. I'll say that. I think he's got the skill set.
Yeah, and I don't think Montel Jackson has had enough experience. Again, he's had plenty of experience to really. Does that line make that much sense? That's very high. And again, I'm just box score
yes
watching.
And no. It's weird because if it wasn't like Brett Johns, like, let me put it this way, take the Brett Johns fight out of there where he got like kind of fucked up in the wrestling department. Who Brett Johns I think got cut by the UFC or isn't in the UFC anymore. I don't know. I don't know. That one's a little weird, but he does have some wins over like Brian Kelleher. Like I said, Colares. He's good. And if JP didn't get so fucked up in his UFC debut, it probably wouldn't be looking this bad. By Bruno Silva, Bruno Silva sucks dick, trash. So I do get that a little bit. But that said, I just think, like I said, stylistically, JP Buys has a real shot here.
I'm going to leave our conversation on this one sentence. He is 4.1% owned. Moving on.
How much?
He's 4.1.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know you said that earlier, but that didn't really sink in until now.
4.1. That's lower than the first 2 girls that we talked about on the card. So
yeah, crazy. And huge leverage there. Yeah, I like it. If you want to get weird,
he will make the optimal if he wins this thing. Just saying.
Yeah, he falls onto a 65-point decision. He'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
But moving on, yeah, we got Brandon Jenkins, Matt, versus Rong here. Back-to-back pullouts here. The other fight isn't on here anymore. Van Camp was versus Mata, but there's another pullout here. Jenkins is replacing Dakota Bush, so now you got Rong, Matt. I mean, it's pretty simple. Let's just call a spade a spade. Rong is 7,600 at -315. You want cash, take him 100% of the time. You want to get weird, take Jenkins as the underdog here, because he's probably going to be super low owned. And Jenkins is a good finisher, so I think I'm going to put him as a levelist, Matt, just off finish ability. I don't think Rong is an amazing fighter. He was on a 10-win streak outside of the UFC, but he is 0-1 in the UFC. Didn't look great in his fight or his debut. I think Jenkins is going to be huge leverage here, Matt.
We had the situation not too long ago, a couple cards, I wouldn't say a couple, probably like a month or two ago, where we had, was it Goodwin? Am I remembering that name, where there was somebody who went in and was a new opponent for him, and he was priced at like such a low price tag.
I'll tell you right now, I remember the fight. Yeah.
And then, but listen, his opponent came in, and the price tag was like a difference of like $400. But because Goodwin was the favorite, he was so heavily owned, and the other guy wasn't owned whatsoever. But you have to consider that he's a phenomenal price tag too. Like both of these fighters' price tags are going to make the optimal, especially in the finish, because there's so much value there. So
yeah, you probably load this fight like 100%.
I was about to say, so guys, don't fade Jenkins just because he's a plus 246 underdog. They're still giving Vegas still giving him a 24% chance to win this thing. I love this. Yeah, I mean, for cash, I would go 100% on Rong. For GPPs, I would go all in on Jenkins, or at least overexpose myself to Jenkins here. Ownership's not updated because this is a new fight. I can only assume the ownership's going to be crazy on Rong. 1,000%.
That was a good call, Matt. It was Jared Gooden over Nicholas Stolz.
Gooden, not Goodwin.
Yeah,
right.
Gooden.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Good
I
job.
knew it was
Good
something.
Call. Yeah. Very. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. So I like both.
Yeah, I think you have 100% of this fight regardless. What's the finish chance again?
Do
we not have that yet? Is it not updated?
I wouldn't
be surprised if it wasn't.
I can find it right now.
Okay. Zoo only had one UFC fight, is that correct? And did not score well.
Yes.
But that was he was a favorite. That's not that.
There's no finish chance.
Okay. So what if you had to guess, what do you think it would be based on your experience?
Jenkins is a good finisher. Rong has a decent finisher. I'd probably put it like a gut reaction, especially being like not planning for each other. I don't know, -150.
-150. So there you go. This is 100%. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I like that. Moving on, we got Panny Kianzad versus Raquel Pennington. No. Matt, no. Nope.
Do you not want to break this down?
No.
Ownership is going to be on.
I wrote on it, but no.
Kianzad of 12.7%, Pennington 10.4%. So whatever you're about to say, it looks like the public's agreeing with you here. Not that much exposure. What's the finish chance at least? Give me that information.
No.
Okay. Moving on. Michael Rodriguez.
Yep. Mike Rodriguez versus Tafon Chukwi. Like the Impa fight, Matt, this is a fight where the line to pricing ratio doesn't quite reflect or make sense. We have a -120 again, this time with Chukwi being 8,800, so similar with Impa being 8,900. I do love this fight. Tafon has big power, a finisher for sure, with 2 and what should be 3 finishes inside the UFC. Is Rodriguez on the other side. So I don't know. It's interesting, man. It's a coin flip fight here, and usually Rodriguez gets finished or gets the finish. Chukwi's a good finisher too. I can't fully agree with this line, but I do love this fight, Matt. Both of these dudes crack really heavy. I think this one's going to stay standing. I think there's going to be some black on black violence in this fight, Matt. Shout out to my dude Emrod. Hope he gets the dub. But as you know, as I say every time, one of my old training partners. But I think he is going to be in a war right here. I think someone is going to get slept. -175 finish chance on somewhat mid-range pricing. So this is a good fight.
Well, here you go.
You like what you see?
Well, absolutely. Now, after basically everything you told me here, I think you have 100% of exposure to this one as well. Rodriguez is 24.5% as the punt play here, which makes sense because he's cheaper. And guess what? Chukwi's even lower owned because of the price tag, 19.3. Having 19.3. So that means at $8,800, you should make the optimal if he wins. Same thing with Rodriguez, obviously being the cheaper opponent here. $7,400. Yeah. Sign me up. 100%. Again.
I do. I feel like this has to make the lineup. This has to make the optimal. I mean, I think they both crack, and I think they're just going to keep it standing. So.
Now, what went on? Okay, never mind. I was about to say, I thought that 66.48 score against Ed Herman. I'm looking at Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
I thought that was a win,
Yeah.
but it's not. He scored 66.48 points in the loss.
He did. It was fucking stupid. So that fight, don't get me started on that fight, Matt.
Okay. I brought up some bad. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
he won that fight, but he didn't win that fight.
Well,
So he hit him with a body
Kevin,
shot.
so.
He hit Ed Herman with a body shot. Ed Herman dropped. Not Ed Herman's fault. Ref thought it was a groin shot. Groin shot, dropped him. Stopped, like put him in their corners. Tape review showed that it was a body shot. Should have been the end of the fight. Just should have been the end of it. Ed Herman gets up and they keep fighting again. No disrespect to Ed Herman. Wasn't his fault. Gets up, hits a Kimura, finishes the fight. Dana White reviewed it and thought it was so bullshit that it happened that way. He actually awarded Mike Rodriguez with a win bonus, gave him like 50 grand or something, or paid him out for a win. So,
but on paper he didn't win.
No,
so
but it shows how well he scored without that. Yeah.
So Rodriguez sucks. Okay, moving on.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct. Moving on, we got Joaquin Buckley versus Antonio Arroyo. Buckley coming back into the mix as a very heavy favorite here, Matt. This is ironic because Buckley knocked out Impa with a dirty head kick, as we know, and then got his head lopped off by Alessio Di Chirico with a head kick, and then we just watched Alessio get his head kicked off into a different orbit by Al Hassan. So by that standard, Matt, apparently when you kick someone in the head, it just trades to the next person. So Al Hassan is the next to get decapitated by that standard. So it's kind of, be ready for that. It's just, I wonder if there's any like actual, imagine if that happens, Al Hassan gets, I'm just going to assume that just this is some spirit at B that just keeps head kicking people. But we know Buckley can crack, very highly owned guy, I'm assuming here. I'll still throw him in the GPP love list category. He is GPP all over him. Arroyo is a little more well-rounded and a little more measured with his striking, as we know, but he's 0-2 in the UFC, but he fought a completely different fighter in his last fight against Deron Wynn, who is a 1'6" tree stump, pure wrestler, so completely different fighter. I think this is going to be a stand-up affair. Another great punt option, Matt. Some cards lack them. This card has them in abundance. Buckley's a glass cannon, and Arroyo has a near 90% finish rate, so I like both sides of this.
All right, when you hear these ownerships, and just tell me your initial thoughts here.
Okay.
Buckley 22.4.
Too low.
Arroyo 9.2.
Way too low.
Yeah.
That's Matt.
What's going on? I feel like we've had three in a row here that are just like, what's going on?
Do you know what fight on this card has actually the highest finish chance?
Is it this one?
This fucking fight. Like, I don't understand. Like, makes no sense. Makes no sense. Minus 350 finish chance.
What?
Yeah, minus 350. Makes no sense.
Buckley's floor looks to be 98.49 in the win. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes no sense.
Sign me up.
100%. 100% load this fight.
It must be just
sense.
the price tag here at 9.3, but even, I mean, that doesn't make sense because it's the highest. He has the highest finish chance, but he's not the highest priced. So
Matt, this is it. This is the fight.
Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, it was a love lister before that, and now it's like that's crazy. It makes no sense.
I knew I'd get that reaction from you, so that's why I asked. Moving on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love that. Nathan Maness versus Tony Gravely, Matt. I think Gravely is another great pay up option here. Different than Buckley for sure. But good pay-up option. He is an NCAA wrestler, landed a very impressive 16 takedowns through his 3 fights. That's an average of just over 5 takedowns a fight, Matt. So let's do some math here. By that standard, let's say he averaged 80, very average, just probably below average, but let's say he gets 80 strikes, 50 being significant, and a decision win, okay? 5 takedowns is his average. He had the 5 takedowns. Without riding time, or, ground control time, as they call it, and no knockdowns and no finish, that's basically a floor of around 90, Matt. You know what I mean? High 80s, 90s. So
I'm looking at the box score right now and I see that.
Yeah. So that's just a high floor. And what we saw from last fight is that he can finish. So I think he's green. I think Gravely's green. I'll mark him very green for that. Not quite a love lister just because he still isn't a super prolific finisher on a card this big, but I think Nate is also worth a green, and the only reason is, and he's the only reason Tony isn't a love lister, because I do love Tony, but I think Nate's pretty good too. Nate is good, and he's 2-0 in the UFC for good reason, and has a real puncher's chance here, Matt.
Yeah, I see why Buckley's ownership is actually low, because if you look at Gravely here, $100 less, and the casuals are gravitating towards that because they're box score watching, 34.2%, so he's now in that cash range. So that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense from our perspective. Looks like the casuals are looking at this as a $100 bonus here, and they're able to move a lot more around in their lineups. But Tony Gravely, looking at the box score here, minus 138.22, minus 109 in the previous 2 fights. So yeah, you should still make the optimal, right, Kevin? If he does win.
Should.
Right. Maness is not so high owned, but still decently high owned. I think this fight as a whole is the highest owned combined as we've seen so far.
Really?
23.6. So
for Nate?
Yep. That's
It's got to be because
$7,000.
he's two. Like I said, he's two in the UFC. It's got to be. That's crazy. That's interesting.
So I think
I'm
there's a lot of
surprised that's the
potential just
highest.
by targeting the previous fight that we were just talking.
Oh, 100%. I would not assume this would be the highest on fight. That's crazy.
Yeah. Again, not set in stone, everybody.
Yeah.
Sign up for DGFantasy.com if you want to grab the updated ownership. All right, go ahead.
Moving on, we got Arman Tsaryukan versus Christos Giagos. Arman comes in hot as the heaviest favorite and most expensive fighter on the slate. But before I say anything, Matt, I'm going to say this. Giagos can scrap. I know he's 6,600. I know he's a plus 500, but the kid can fight. So I'm not ready to say it. I'm just saying Giagos can scrap. I don't want to put a formal stance out there.
Okay, gotcha.
But back to Arman. He's annoying as fuck, Matt, because he's one of those guys who can break the slate. 9,600 is so annoying to get to. $9,600 and it's a plus 120 finish chance. Already looks like super red flags, but he's one of those annoying ass wrestlers who in a decision can clear points. I mean, he had 10 takedowns in his last fight in decision. What did he score last fight?
125.
That's so high, Matt. That's so high. That sucks.
Now, keep in mind, that was his highest scoring of his previous 4 fights. So, by far.
What did he score before that?
82, 85.
Okay. So let's say that's an outlier, and he's not a good finisher. Okay. So maybe you do fade him. But I got to put him at least yellow because of that. I'm going to green light him. I want to put him in cash as the safest pick here. But like I said, Giagos is a good fighter. He's 4-2 in the UFC with only losses coming to Jakar Close and Charles Oliveira, so that doesn't mean much to me. Arman's only loss in the past 6 years was to Islam, so that doesn't mean much to me either. Both these guys, both of their abilities are good, but it's a little bit of an annoying fight, Matt. It's an annoying fight. I like both these guys, but it's annoying.
Looks like people are just gravitating towards the heavier favorite here. 37.4% for Arman. He is the 3rd highest on the card. Highest owned, Kevin. So I
like that for cash.
I like it for cash, but I hate it for GPPs. $9,600. Everything that you've talked about to this point seems like he is not worth that price tag, especially when comparing him to the other. I honestly would fade him in GPPs if I'm being honest. I would.
Do you want to start something controversial that gets people mad?
Okay, what's that?
Cool. So I'm looking at a post right now.
It's not political, is it?
No, it's about sports, sort of. It's about Sue Bird and LeBron James and how they have 4 championships each. Both have 17 seasons in the NBA, and LeBron makes $37 million in 2020, and Sue Bird made $215,000. And that everything is sexist and all this stuff. And I find it interesting because people always post stuff like this, Matt. And
do you want me to give my opinion right now? Is that what you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really an opinion to make. It's just like, as someone who loves wrestling, do you know how much the best wrestlers in the world make?
This is a trick question. You mean just regular wrestling, right?
Not real wrestling. Okay. Amateur wrestlers.
100?
Couple $100,000 a year. The best wrestler in the world. I think Jordan Burroughs makes like $200,000 a year or something like that, maybe more. Best wrestling coaches in the country make $200,000 a year. Why? Because no one fucking cares about wrestling. Just like no one cares about women's basketball. And you just got to understand that's why. That's why.
I will say this, from a marketing perspective, you got to think about that too. LeBron James brings in so many more sports fans than Sue Bird. And again,
that's what I'm saying. It's just a money thing. It's not a sexism thing. It's just like I don't sit there and why don't they pay wrestlers more? Because no one fucking cares.
And I was about to say, you want to support Sue Bird, then there has to be a lot more woman followers actually.
Oh, trust me, I've had that conversation too. Because my mom brought this up to me one time. It's a male-dominated exact thing. Right. I go, how many WNBA games you watch? She's like, none. I'm like, yeah. So go support her.
Go support it. Yeah. And again, we can't help it. You can't help it. Like LeBron James can't help that he's that good of a marketer. He gets paid for it. So what's he gonna do? Give it away to Sue Bird? Like, is that gonna help?
Exactly. He pays her half of his salary.
Anyway, yeah.
But
I think for sports, yeah, I can agree with you there.
I just don't understand why people have such a hard time understanding that it's just you get paid your worth. You don't go to a job that's an undervalued, non-essential job and get paid $300,000 a year because it's not needed. You know what I mean? It's like
I was about to say, and then the whole argument with LeBron James in the entertainment industry shouldn't get paid because he dribbles a basketball. That term has been used, but you're watching him dribble a basketball every single time he's on TV. So you are contributing to the problem here. If you don't
watch, he gets paid. Yeah, you watch, he gets paid.
Watch exactly, like, you're the one contributing to this. So if you really don't believe in it, turn off your TV. Help out the situation here. If you believe that. And again, I don't. Yep. I believe that entertainers that bring in that much money should get paid that much. So
That's got you fired up, Matt. I love that.
hence the reason I'm sitting in this chair covering it. So
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it.
all right.
Just a little side note. Just want to get you fired up there. But yeah, moving on to the next fight. Matt, we got Ariane Lipski versus Mandy Baumann. This is the only fight with middle range pricing at 8,200 versus 8K. There's a UFC vet versus an undefeated newcomer in this one. It is a women's fight with a plus 150 finish chance, which is much higher than the average of most women's fights. Matt, we know that plus 150 is actually a pretty good finish chance for that. This is most likely due to the fact that Lipski is usually a finish or be finish kind of fighter. She's also on a 2-loss streak where she was knocked out in both affairs. Lipski is just a hit or miss, honestly. She's kind of a glass cannon. She isn't the best scorer in decisions, and really is just average aside from her finish rate. But she can finish sometimes. I think she's yellow because of the pricing and the situation, but cannot do much better than that. Bohm is interesting and actually has a gymnastics background, Matt, kind of interesting. And she only started fighting when she was 18, so she was late to the party, but she now trains out of McGregor's old gym with John Kavanagh and all that stuff. So she's really been putting it together. She looked good from what I've seen. She's well-rounded, and I'm going to mark her as yellow here. She looked very promising in her Bellator debut. And I think she has some potential here, Matt. I really do.
All right, so yellow for both these girls?
Yep.
All right,
something about Bohm is a little...
Yeah, and you'll love to hear the ownership as well. I'm sure you expect this because it's a near even line, near even pricing. 13.4 on Lipski, Bohm 14 points. So pretty much
big leverage there, Matt. Yeah. And like I said, there's not a lot of great mid-range pricing fights besides like Rodriguez and Chukwuemeka. So I definitely think you got to assume one of those fights makes it in. It doesn't have to, but usually more times than not.
Right.
So not a bad target. Moving on, Ion Cudalaba versus Devin Clark. Ion. This is interesting, Matt. So another one was just like, I'm loving these punts. I'm loving Devin Clark here. We've seen Devin Clark. He's a good wrestler. He has, a good pace. Wins over Mike Rodriguez, Alonzo Menafield, Jake Collier. He'll be another loveless punt here, Matt. He's plus 115. This is another one where the line doesn't make sense. Cudalaba at 9K is a minus 140. That's not really accurate. A 9K guy, I'm looking at least minus 200. If you're minus 140, I'm thinking you're like 85. You know what I mean? So this is just not as accurate. Again, I told you it's a weird card in terms of line to price ratio. But I just think he has so much potential in Clark. And this is going to be an interesting one stylistically, Matt. I like Cudalaba too. He got 9 fucking takedowns in his fight against Jacoby. First off, he got 9 takedowns and got robbed, and went to a draw. How do you get 9 takedowns and get a draw? And the striking was close. So it's like he got robbed. But
yeah, it sounds like it.
I'll say this. I think stylistically it's a tough match for both guys. Both guys are good wrestlers. So either one person's gonna, dominate with their wrestling, or they're just gonna stand and bang. It's a minus 225 finish chance though, Matt, and I'd love to pay and find out because I think it's going to be a good
Well, guess what?
target.
Okay. Well, the ownership's low on this one as well. So I think we have like four fights where the ownership just completely doesn't make sense. This is one of them. 22.9 on Ian Clark, 16.4 Kevin, 16 points. So
Makes no sense.
Both below, really far below that cusp of a GBP cash play.
I don't understand. I really don't get it. This is the 3rd highest finish chance on the card.
There you go. Yeah.
3rd highest finish chance.
What it really comes down to, and this is kind of something we haven't talked about on this channel. Generally, this ownership reflects the ownership in the biggest GBP, right, Kevin? The 100K the first. Usually, that's what the biggest contest in MMA. You got to think that the majority of players, as sad as this is, are making a bad decision and playing a single lineup in those 150 max to first, or 150 max, 100K to first things. And when they invest a single entry lineup into these big GBPs, they're not being as aggressive or as crazy as they should. Therefore, they're not taking these split decision fighters. They're just not touching them. So that's why this ownership is so low on these fighters here who just don't make sense to really take a punt on when you only have one single lineup. So that's just another fact here. The near even lines that we've talked about, the Gravely Nate fight that we've talked about, minus 207. Like, nobody's going to take Nate in their single entry. Nobody's going to take him. Why? Because why would you do that if you have one single entry when you can grab someone who makes a lot more sense, who's probably going to win? Same thing with Arroyo. Like, why would you take Arroyo at plus 169 when that's not that high of a guaranteed chance when you have one single lineup? So therefore, deflating all the ownership on those types of fighters and overall those types of fights. So
it makes sense.
I wanted to get that out of the way. So single entry guys, you're hurting your chances here, and you're giving the Sharks a better chance to win these things.
Yeah, no, 100%. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least.
Yeah, last but not least, we have the main event, Matt. Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. I took Anthony Smith in his last 2 fights and will again, slightly above average fighter, but a very, very good finisher. Truly elite finisher. He's also pretty good at getting finished. I think he's probably going to be chalky, but you got to take him, at least some parts of him, even on slate this big, because he's coming off 2 first-round finishes, Matt. He's such a good finisher. We know this. And I do like Anthony Smith for just always. Ryan Spann will be another love lister, Matt. I told you a lot of punts making the love list here. Really good finisher. We just talked about how easily Anthony Smith can be finished. And I think these pay-up options, pay-down options on this card are awesome. And it's a -280 finish chance in a 5-round fight. I mean, what more do you need?
The pricing screwed up the ownership on this fight 1,000%. You have a $7,100 price tag on Spann, so therefore he's higher owned than Anthony Smith at 39.1%, which is just insane to me.
Wow.
Just the price. Why are you giving this guy a $7,100 price tag at a +141? That's pretty much evenly split. They're giving him a 42% chance to win this thing. I know it's not dead even, but come on.
I was going to say, the line is fucky on this one again. -165 from 9,100 is just not right.
No.
But still, it's a great fight, target both sides.
Yeah, and therefore Anthony Smith also pretty high owned, but still lower owned than Spann. 35.7, Kevin. They're both in that cash range. Is this a stackable fight?
No. I don't think so. I think someone dies.
5 rounds.
They're both such good finishers, and they get finished. So yeah.
Someone dies in this fight. You should take one side or the other. The ownership isn't as high as I thought it would be. So guess what? Don't stack in cash games either. As much as that sucks to say, you might have to go with the slight underdog here in Spann.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just because of pricing.
So if you take him as the underdog, who are your pay-up options for cash? Armand.
Good question. So it looks like Armand. You can
Gravely.
get Jackson and Aaron in there.
You want Gravely, right?
Yes, I want Gravely. That looks like I just crunched based on ownership. He didn't make it in this specific one, but yeah, personally, I want Gravely. Yeah.
Okay. Jackson, Gravely.
It looks like Harris made it in as a punt, and Nate did. FYI.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I do think the ownership's going to change drastically once we get that update on what was that fight that was just drastically mispriced because of the fighter change. It was Rong and Jenkins.
Wrong,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
Wrong.
So once we get the ownership on that, it's going to drastically change everything.
Yeah.
All
okay.
right, let's bring it all together.
Bring it home. Core plays, Smith and Ryan Spann. One will be obviously more considered a core play with Smith for the pricing. I guess you could consider Spann more of a punt. Smith is chalky, going to be good for GPPs too. Spann, we just talked about, even has more ownership, big finishability, and Smith gets finished all the time. I love that. Core play, Wrong, as we just talked about, crazy line to pricing ratio. And I'm going to include his opponent in the punt column in Jenkins. It's going to be huge leverage there for him. Is a great finisher and looks awesome. From what I've seen, looked great in his last fight in the PFL. So I definitely like both of those fights. Matt, like I said, we should probably go 100% in on that fight, the one we talked about, the change-up fight. Then moving to just GPPs, Rodriguez and Chukwuemeka, great pricing, and the fight script should result in a high scoring finish. Should stay standing. Buckley, huge power, heavy favorite. One of the best pay up options. We just talked about the ownership too on Buckley is way too low, Matt, way too low. And then Cudalaba, also too low of ownership, huge power, great wrestling, volatility with the style matchup, but could be great, could be bad, but that's GPP for you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then punts, Carlston Harris, great value for the line, looked great in his debut. I know he's carrying some heavier ownership than we'd like, but he just makes sense. Arroyo, Buckley can be finished, and we just talked about Arroyo's ownership is criminally low. We talked about Clark, same thing with that style matchup against Ion. That could go both ways. You know, they're both good wrestlers, might stay standing. You know, good finish chance though, very criminally low ownership. And I just talked about Spann and Jenkins. So yeah, that'll do it, Matt.
That's it. Yeah, pretty straightforward. I can guarantee you the optimal will not be exactly $50,000. If it is, you guys can come back and roast me in the comments, just because there's so much volatility in terms of pricing here. I would be surprised if it's over 49.6. So honestly, if I'm playing big GPPs, guys, I'm probably setting my cap there to about 49.5, because it allows you to get very different GPPs. So just another little tidbit there for GPP players on this specific slate. And that will wrap up our breakdown, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this breakdown. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your weekend. Look forward to seeing you on NFL Sunday, and let's cash.